All right, so we're talking about a plan here, right?
Yep.
Let me ask you this. When it comes to a plan, how are you planning which types of plants to put in the ground and why? I mean, because look, you're going to have some stuff that the deer prefer earlier, some stuff they prefer later. I guess at the end of the day, you're probably going to agree with me in saying, what's your goal with it for this? Is it to give the deer food in the winter? Is it to have, we'll call it a kill plot that is highly palatable that they like during deer season? You know what I mean?
Sure. Well, that's a loaded question.
They're all loaded questions.
100%. Well, personally for me, on a lot of my food plots, it really comes down to two different seed types that I'm going to plant, regardless what the situation is. All right. One, I don't do little kill plots, so personally I'm out on that. But even if I did do a kill plot, it would still fall into the two different blends that I'm going to use. So in those two blends, I use our Tecomate Greenfield blend, which is wheat, oats, triticale, or rye, that kind of thing, basically cereal rye or cereal grains, and that's in that mix, and that's very core to that mix. And Greenfield has some clover in it, but it has a lot of brassicas in it. So if you want a brassica type product, I don't do straight brassicas. I never do straight brassicas. I don't like doing straight brassicas, but I want to blend with brassicas in it. The reason why is if you do straight brassicas, there's only certain times that they're going to come to that food plot. And I want to blend with brassicas so there can deer come to it all the time. And but still all those brassicas are there, so if you get really, really cold weather or whatever, when those deer are really coming to the brassicas, I have a plot with a lot of brassicas in it. So if you want to go the brassica side of things, a heavy tonnage food plot, let's just say that would be Greenfield. I don't care if it's a little small food plot for a kill plot or whatever, I'll put in the Greenfield blend. So the next blend, and I'm going to put both of these on the property. The next blend that I do is Maxitract. It's the same thing. It is all of those cereal grains, but it has a lot more clover in it. It has both perennial clover and annual clover that's in there. So that particular blend, and a lot of times I'll add Monster Mix to that, which is more clover and chicory, more perennial type stuff. So that way you have a food plot that deer are going to eat in all year, but it's going to take you into the spring and summer as well. So I got two different things going on in there. I have a food plot that's high tonnage primarily for the fall and winter. That's Greenfield. Maxitract, they're going to love it during the fall and winter also, but you got different varieties in there, but it will also take you into the spring and summer. I'm a big turkey hunter. I know Clayton's a big turkey hunter. So even when I'm planning for deer, I'm thinking about turkeys as well. And most of the time, the best way to do that is during the fall. So it's hard to plant a turkey food plot during the spring. It just is. Now, you can do some frost seeding or whatever, but even when you frost seed, especially here, it's not going to do well until, half a turkey season's over before it's really, blowing and going. So that's my technique. It's very, very basic. Those major blends, Maxitract and Greenfield, just use them ever how you need to use them in whatever size plots that you have.
Well, and I think before we dive any further into anything, as a part of that plan and what we're talking about here, like I've decided, hey, when we put these fall food plots in, we're going to put in whatever we want in the spring. Like if it's not if it doesn't have a bunch of the perennial clovers in it, like the alpha, what is it, the alpha feast? Is that correct?
Right, with alfalfa in it.
Yeah, put some of that in when we're putting the fall stuff in the ground. That way this spring we don't have to worry about it as much. So you're literally planning 6 months, not planting, but I guess you're doing both planning and planting 6 months ahead.
Absolutely. Of
schedule, essentially. So it's less work you got to worry about in the spring. Like especially this spring for us in Kentucky, there's so much rain. I mean, it turned into a rainforest. Farmers couldn't get crops into the ground until June.
Well, it hasn't helped us much this summer either. That's why they're just getting around to bush hogging.
Yeah.
No. So it was the same thing, with us. I mean, like I said, and I had to rent a drill because there was no way for me to disc it, and I almost got stuck even pulling that drill in July. That's how wet it was. And I'm like, okay, I got this week to get it in or it ain't happening. So I went and rented the drill and did that process. And that's the cool thing too. I will mention this: if people want to use a drill, most all of the state extensions, NRCS or whatever, there's like this local extension service that I know in the state of Mississippi, every county or every other county has this drill that you can rent. But even there's feed stores and things like that now that will have these. So definitely reach out, and it's usually very cost effective to do so. So I'll throw that little caveat in there, and ever how you want to use that, you go with it from there. But planning fall food plots is not as complicated so many times as we make them out to be. And planning during the fall is much easier than the summertime, because you don't have the crazy invasive weeds that you have to deal with. That's the biggest advantage in planting during the fall. So during the summertime, you're going to have those weeds, and they're aggravating to deal with. So don't try to make it complicated. I mean, Tecomate Seed, we have every kind of seed blend and seed varieties that you can think of. I don't know how many SKUs that we have, and it's a lot of them. But I try to make it as simple as you can. Again, going back to just Greenfield and MaxAttract. Those two blends give you everything you need. If you want to do, let's just say this, I know Clayton, you mentioned planting during the fall and planting for the summer. If you take MaxAttract and add Monster Mix to it, watch this, and you're only planting one big food plot. Let's just say an acre food plot. All right, so you plant that in MaxAttract and you add a little Monster Mix to that. So then you have a great fall food plot. Then you come in early spring, and just like you mentioned earlier, you spray clethodim over the top of that, and that's going to kill any grasses. It's going to terminate even the grains and things that are in that. But guess what's going to explode? All of that clover is just going to start coming out of the ground, and then you've just established a food plot for the entire spring and summer, planting it during the fall, and then you don't touch it. So that helps tremendously. So that's just why I'm saying there's so many different ways with just these two blends if you want to add a little something to it to go from there. So even if I'm planting, let me just say this, even if I want to establish a perennial food plot, and Monster Mix is our biggest one because it has a lot of different varieties, or if you just want straight white clover, our King Ladino white clover, even if I'm going to establish a King Ladino white clover plot, I'm going to mix it with MaxAttract during the fall. Because if I just do that clover, you're not going to see much growth. People are upset about it because clover takes a long time to grow. And you'll see it during the spring, but you won't see much of it during the fall. So I'm going to mix my clover, whatever clover that you want, in with the MaxAttract because there's a lot of clover there. You're going to get some utilization out of that all during the fall because of everything that's going on. And those other plants help shield the clover. They don't put as much pressure on the clover. So come spring, it blows up. Spray it with the clethodim, you have a perennial food plot. And just doing these little techniques makes life so much easier.
And to that point, is it helpful being further north in Kentucky if we do frost seed some clover over the course of the winter?
Sure, absolutely. So, and you could even do that technique. If you used MaxAttract, for an example, and then go over the top of it with you could actually go over the top of any of the food plots with any of the clover if you're frost seeding.
Yeah, and I keep coming back to that because, at least from my perspective, again, falling in the category of a weekend warrior, that takes the least amount of planning and is the easiest to do. All I need is a hand seeder and some clover seed. And I might be walking for an hour or so, but
yeah, I was gonna say you forgot about having a good pair of boots.
Yeah,
that's fair.